Sony have revealed today they're doing a massive press conference revealing all of the upcoming games coming to the PlayStation 5 ecosystem, supposedly over the next couple of months or years, I suppose. This is the first PlayStation reveal announcement we've had since I think the reveal event earlier in the year. This isn't like a state of play event like they've done in the past. This is something bigger. This is the PlayStation Showcase. This would be the equivalent of what a PlayStation E3 would be like. So very exciting stuff there. I'm going to be live streaming this whole event as well on the YouTube channel. Link in the description down below to the live stream, which should be down there now for you to click on if you want to click on it and bookmark it or set a reminder or whatever you want to do. But I'll be live streaming the entire event, so you can check that out. And I'll do a wrap up of it after it's done as well. But this video here, what I want to do is speculate on what I think is going to be seen in this PlayStation Showcase. We're going to talk a little bit about the games I think that will be revealed, and I want to get everyone else's thoughts on what they think are going to be revealed in this as well. I've jotted down some notes here on the major announcements that I feel will be featured here and the games that I feel will be featured here. Now, remember, take it with a grain of salt. None of this is fact. It is all my speculation. So don't get upset if it's not in there, because let's face it, Sony always overhype these events and then they always kind of let us down a little bit. We have just had a Horizon announcement over the last couple of days, giving us a new date for Horizon being February 2022, as well as showing off the collector's edition and things like that. I still think they will feature Horizon in here though. I think they'll probably show us a little bit more gameplay and things like that, given it is one of the core pillar titles that Sony is pushing at the moment, kind of being the next one up in terms of its lineup of games coming out on the PlayStation 5. I know it's still a long way away. I would be shocked though if Sony had any massive games coming out between now, which is the beginning of September, and Horizon's date in February. I think between now and then, we're not going to see any big things just pop out of nowhere in terms of exclusives or things like that from a first party. I think we'll see second party stuff and we might see some remasters, but I'd be shocked if we saw any massive first party content between now and then. Horizon, I think, is the next one, next cab off the rank, so to speak. So we'll definitely see them focus on that, even though we kind of know everything we need to know up till this point. That's Guerrilla, and that's probably what they're working on. Look, I think Guerrilla probably have a couple of teams in their studio now. Maybe we see some stuff from the other team, potentially like a Killzone thing. Sony don't really stagger their stuff, as we saw with Insomniac making all the basically launch titles for the PS5, which means that Guerrilla could potentially have Horizon and Killzone in the works at the same time, or another first-person shooter game, which is definitely something Sony is lacking in their lineup, and that could be something we see in this reveal as well, but I'm probably not going to be putting too many bets on that. I would say that Insomniac will definitely have something to show. I do feel like there's probably a little bit more for Ratchet, maybe, that we haven't got yet. Maybe some additional DLC or content, maybe a separate campaign with Rivet as like a standalone thing. I just feel like there's more there, because that's one of Sony's few games that's actually out and available. And after seeing the way they supported Ghost of Tsushima, I do feel like there is maybe a little bit more of something that we can see from Ratchet. So I think that would be an easy win from them, maybe showing something more there. But who knows? It has been quite a few months now since Ratchet came out, and Insomniac haven't really talked about it much. So I don't know. They're also likely on full production at this point on the new Spider-Man game, Spider-Man 2. I'm assuming it's going to have some different title, but Spider-Man 2, whatever that may be. Maybe we do see a trailer for that, teasing the existence of it, because I don't think we've seen anything yet since Miles Morales, so maybe we see a first reveal of Spider-Man 2. It kind of makes sense with all the buzz around the new Spider-Man No Way Home stuff that's happening at the moment, even though the two won't be tied in together. I mean, it's just PR, right? You can take advantage of all the positive stuff that's happening around Spider-Man No Way Home by dropping this trailer for a teaser for the new Spider-Man game, which we know Insomniac have been working on for a while now. Now, the big one that I think a lot of people will be expecting some big things from will be God of War. I think at this point now, Sony have teased the new God of War game for such a long time, and they haven't shown us anything. So I'd say we're probably about due for our first God of War 2, God of War Ragnarok trailer. We haven't seen anything or heard anything about this game for months, and Santa Monica's slowly been giving us little tidbits of information. I guess this was originally supposed to come out this year. We all kind of knew it wasn't coming out this year, and it's scheduled currently for next year. So I'm thinking there's going to be a decent trailer for that. Will we see a release date for it though? I would say it's pretty doubtful. I think Sony have been holding back the release dates until closer to the launch, as not to disappoint people. So I don't think we'll see a release date for God of War until after Horizon launches, but I do think we'll see a decent amount of footage for the new God of War game, maybe showing off some of the story elements, maybe showing off a little bit of the gameplay and the world, but I would definitely expect to see some of that, because I think after Horizon, I would say God of War is probably the next game that we'll be getting anything decent from. Moving down the list, Gran Turismo 7 is also something else that's going to be featured there. It is a showcase game for Sony. Gran Turismo is an incredibly popular franchise. It's one of those kind of games that can look amazing running on next-gen hardware. And we've seen that in Forza on the Xbox One and the Series consoles as well. And Sony really need a sim racer to compete with that and to also just show off PS5. And racing games do a great job of that. So Gran Turismo 7, I think we'll see more about that as well. I don't think we'll see a date for that yet because I still think that game is probably more than a year away until that finally does launch. I think it's probably going to be the very end of 2022 when that game does come out, is my prediction on that one. I could be completely wrong, who knows? But that's just my speculation on that. I think we'll probably see some gameplay for GT7 though, because it always just looks stunning when we see footage of this, and it's a really good way for Sony to hype up journalists and YouTubers and the audience about how awesome the PS5 looks and what the PS5 is really capable of. And I know that Ratchet showed us some of that, but I think Gran Turismo and God of War and Horizon and things like that will be able to push it even further to show us exactly what the PS5 is made of. Those are the major big announcements that I think we're going to see. And there's a couple of other smaller ones which I want to talk about here now, which I think will be featured in here too. Deathloop, that's coming out really imminently, the very end of this month, so I think we'll probably see a final trailer for Deathloop. Not that we need to, but it is a Sony second-party exclusive game they have invested money into, so I'd assume we're going to see more about that because they are pushing it, and because we don't have any other exclusives from Sony happening for the rest of the year, so I think Deathloop is going to be something featured in this conference as well. On top of that, we'll probably see a bunch of stuff from indie developers and smaller second-party published games. I'm not going to talk about those because that would just make this video far too long, but I do think we'll probably see something from Media Molecule and Dreams. I've always said I think Dreams will come to PS5, and I think it's probably time that that happened. It's a game that probably will just be ported from PS4 to PS5, so it has a native PS5 release. My assumption is they'll probably give it to PlayStation Plus members for free. I've been saying this for months. I still feel like that is going to happen, so I would expect us to see a Dreams sort of piece in here as well. I do think that's going to be here. I know Dreams is really important to Sony, and they've been very quiet about it for quite a few months now, so I think that's going to be featured in here. Death Stranding also comes out at the end of September, or Death Stranding Director's Cut comes out at the end of September. That could be a good segue into revealing a Death Stranding 2, which I know they haven't talked about up until this point. Another second party, potentially Sony published game that they could talk about here. And I think it's likely. Death Stranding did quite well for Sony and it has a pretty decent cult following. I wouldn't be shocked if there is a sequel to this game or another Kojima game being made at the moment. I don't know if it's time for it to be revealed. It has been about 2 years since Death Stranding came out, so they definitely would have been working on other games over the last couple of years, not just the director's cut of Death Stranding. So I think they're probably almost due to reveal something, so it could be featured in here as well, and that would be a massive get for Sony to continue that partnership with Kojima alongside Death Stranding. So Death Stranding 2 would be a cool one, and I think probably a safe bet as well. Now, two other studios I want to talk about really quickly are Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog have finished up on The Last of Us Part 2 as well as Uncharted 4 quite a number of years ago. So their new game is yet to be teased and revealed as well. We don't know what that is or what they're actually working on, but they have told us they are working on something multiplayer based, and as everyone's aware, the multiplayer did get removed from The Last of Us Part 2, so my assumption would be they're working on some sort of a multiplayer game based on whatever they were working on from The Last of Us Part 2. Maybe it is a Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer mode that comes out much later after release, similar to what Ghost of Tsushima did potentially with their multiplayer mode. So we might see a Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer reveal, or just some sort of Naughty Dog multiplayer game, which I think could be really cool. I know The Last of Us has a really active multiplayer community on it still on the PlayStation 4. It was something that was wholly unique and something that not everyone got to experience, so it'd be cool to see Naughty Dog go all in and tackle a multiplayer game like no other developer has tackled a multiplayer game before, with a very Naughty Dog sort of coat of paint on it. So that could be exciting. Is that likely? I would say it's a lower likelihood than the rest of the stuff we've talked about here, but you never know. And then one other studio I want to mention is Sony Bend. These are the guys that made Days Gone. Days Gone came out in 2019 at this point, so it was a very long time ago. Had a couple of years of development on whatever they're working on next. Probably not a Days Gone 2 based on some of the rumors going around, but they're obviously working on something else. My bet from them, from my perspective, it could be an Uncharted game, it could be an Infamous game. These are two IPs that we haven't seen for a long time, and we know that Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch both aren't working on those IPs anymore, so maybe we see one of these smaller studios from Sony's first party lineup like Bend pick up some of the games here and potentially make one of those. So we could see that revealed as well. Likelihood of that is probably a little bit lower again, because I think, you know, their real focus is going to be on the big ones coming out over the next wee while, because I think Sony's big focus over the next wee bit is going to be Horizon Zero Dawn, Gran Turismo 7, and God of War. They tend to only focus on one or two massive games at a time to build hype for those and then move on to the next one. So I think we probably won't see an Uncharted or anything massive like that revealed, not until some of these other ones have moved along a little bit. The last thing I want to put on the table is PlayStation VR 2. We had some information about PSVR 2 earlier in the year. Maybe we see a release date and a bit more of a reveal for PSVR 2 coming out next year is my assumption. Who knows? We haven't had a bunch of updates for PlayStation VR in 2020 or even in 2021, honestly, so maybe they've been holding a lot of that VR content till the next version of VR. I don't know. We haven't had a massive VR game since Iron Man, and it was over 1 year ago from Sony, so who knows what VR is going to look like going forward, but I would assume they're going to have something featured in there as well. Now, obviously, this is a perfect world scenario. Knowing what Sony normally do, they normally have like 1 or 2 big announcements and a bunch of filler content in here as well, like Among Us and stuff like that, so I wouldn't be shocked if that is actually what ends up happening, but these are just some of my predictions for this conference. Like I said, I will be streaming the entire thing live. Come and watch with us. I'll do some commentary over it as well, and then I'll do a full summary video of it once it's done, so you can check that out on the channel too. Let me know what your predictions are in the comments down below. We'll see how many we get right, if I get any of mine right, if you guys get any of your right, and we can compare them together. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and tune into the live stream. Let's have a chat. All right, talk soon, guys. Patreons for September. I want to give you a warm thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you to each and every one of you for keeping all the lights on here at Platinum Trophy HQ by supporting me either via Patreon or by a channel membership below. You'll see your names over here next to me if you are a Patreon or a channel member. Thank you, each and every one of you. If you also want to support the channel and help keep the lights on over here, you can do that by hitting the link in the description down below and joining me on Patreon, or clicking the join button on YouTube just down below, and you get access to emotes and some other exclusive things there as well. Every single cent counts. Thank you all for the encouragement and continuing to support this channel so I can continue making great content. Thanks for all those watching, as well as all my extra special supporters.